I just want to start this video by setting the scene. You work at a place, let's say Vance Refrigeration. Yeah, if you get the joke, you get the joke. You work there and let's talk about your workplace. The environment sucks. It sucks. Let's talk about your manager. I mean, your manager, he's bad. He's incompetent. He stinks. Like literally, he doesn't use deodorant. He should do that because it's tough to work with him. You've got 15 employees, 15 of them, and you've got maybe 1, 2 good employees that you work with, but they're not there every day. You don't have them all the time. So you're left with guys who are incompetent, guys who are unmotivated, and then the kid, the guy who, it's not his fault, but he's new on the job. He doesn't know what he's doing. You're there because your manager sucks. So you're there to teach him the ropes while still trying to sell to customers and reach what you need to do as an individual. Can we agree that's probably not the best conditions? I mean, not to mention the aircon is broke, so it's hot as hell in there, and also the computer is like huge. It's huge, and it's really slow. But despite this, despite all of this, these conditions against you, you still reach your KPIs. You still exceed them, actually. You exceed your expectations as an individual. Despite these terrible conditions, you still exceed all of those indicators. That's a success, right? No. You're wrong. That is not seen as a success because across the road, Jim, hey Jim, whatever, nice to meet you. He works in this modern day sleek office with great employees, a great manager, and his team is tasked with selling 300 items, 300 fridges, and he sells 150 of them. He's undoubtedly the best employee there, but it's a team effort. You've got good management, you've got good people around him, and they all help him to sell those 150. It's not like people are taking it off him. It's a team effort. Whereas you're working at your shabby place with a terrible manager, and you too are tasked with selling 300 as a team. You sell 200 of them. Yet, between the 14 other absolute idiots, they can't sell 100 combined. Realistic or not, I don't care. They can't sell 100 but combined, and well, you're criticized for that. Whereas he is praised. He is absolutely amazing for selling 150 and his team reaching those expectations, whereas you're sitting here putting up those kind of numbers and you're getting criticized for it. You see what I'm trying to say here? Yeah, you get the point. This is me basically saying in a roundabout way that criticizing players for being in a bad situation is dumb because, oh, look, I just got the call. Hypothetically, you working at that terrible place, you're going across to that modern shop and now you're working with Jim. You and him are working together. That's going to be easy. You're doing the same thing as you were at the other place. But now people are coming up to you on the street, congratulating you. Oh my God, I love your work. You're so fantastic. You do such a great job. And you're like, thanks. I'm just doing the same thing that I've done for the last 4 years. No, but like you should see your team. You're just, oh my God, it's unbelievable. You get what I'm trying to say here? It's dumb to criticize players and then just absolutely praise them when they do the same thing in a different environment, whether it's leaving their place to go to a different place or it's just getting people around them that aren't absolutely incompetent. We don't need to shift that much. We could actually have an opinion of a player, even if their team sucks, even if the situation around them absolutely stinks. Let's use De'Aaron Fox as an example. Let's get some examples in. De'Aaron Fox. If I'm De'Aaron Fox and I averaged 25 points a game, I think he averaged like 30 over the last 20 games. He was incredibly good this season if you didn't know, which you might not have known because he plays for the Kings and you probably didn't see a game of him, but he was incredibly good. And well, if I averaged 25 points a game with Luke Walton as my coach and a rookie as my second best player averaging 12 points a game, I want a statue. I want a trophy. I want a medal. I want to be praised like I am the guy who I am, averaging 25 points a game with Luke Walton as my coach. I don't want to be criticized because my team didn't win more than 30 games. No kidding. As I said, how many times do I need to say it? Luke Walton is my coach, and a rookie averaging 12 points a game is my second best player. Yet I'm getting criticized because my team's not winning more games. Does that sound a little bit dumb? I don't know about you, but to me that sounds a little bit dumb. Or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, let's use another example. One of the most efficient scorers in the league. Someone who creates all of his own offense. Like literally, he creates all of his own offense, like 95% of it, because he's playing with Aleksej Pokusevski, Theo Maledon, and Moses Brown, and a first-year head coach, and like 2 of his good veterans. One of them got traded, well, both of them inevitably got traded. Al Horford was asked to sit at home because he could potentially help them win games. Players that could potentially have helped Shai Gilgeous-Alexander were asked to sit at home because they didn't want him to get the help he needed. And yet, he's not seen in the upper echelon of young guards because his team doesn't win, or because he hasn't done it in the playoffs. I mean, no kidding, because he's playing the best basketball of his career, and he's doing it with a bunch of 19-year-olds and people who don't want to be there, or are literally asked to not be there. Yet he's getting criticized for that. But what am I even trying to say? Let's get a little bit more structure in what I'm trying to say. Basically, I thought this was a perfect time to try and talk about how we evaluate players and to not make these same mistakes, because inevitably we're going to talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We're going to talk about De'Aaron Fox. Or are they putting up empty numbers? Oh, are they not good enough to lead their team to the playoffs? And then in 2 years' time, maybe not De'Aaron Fox. Sorry, Kings fans. I hope so. I hope for you guys, but maybe not De'Aaron Fox, because if he's still playing at Sacramento, I doubt he'll be in a winning environment. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for example, when he starts winning games, we're going to be like, is he really that good? Is he efficient? Can he do all of these things? Yes, he can. He is really that good. And now all of a sudden he's got the teammates to show that he's really that good. And as I was saying, this is a perfect time to do it, because there's two poster boys for this playing in the playoffs right now, starring in their roles right now. Bobby Portis and Cameron Payne. I'm joking. Devin Booker and Trae Young. Those are the two guys. Devin Booker and Trae Young. I mean, where do we start? Let's talk about Trae first, because why not? I've made enough videos on the Hawks. Why not continue to talk about them? But we'll talk about Booker and all the other guys and just the narrative as a whole. But Trae, I mean, where do we start? Something along the dialogue of someone probably saying he's a high usage rate Ish Smith, or he's an inefficient guy who puts up empty stats on a terrible team, who can't play defense, who is a liability, who's too small, who's got a high ego. You name it. Those are the kind of things that would be said. And then something along the lines of someone who said those things just 3 months ago now saying, no, I never said he was a high usage rate Ish Smith. Don't get my words twisted. I just said he was to blame for his team not winning games. It's that simple. I just said he needed to do better. He needed to help his team win more games. His numbers weren't good enough. His efficiency wasn't good enough. His ego was out of check, and he was just bad. He just wasn't helping his team. Now all of a sudden, I'm so glad Trae has matured. Now all of a sudden, he's realizing what he needs to do to help his team win, and it's just a joy to see. Is it? Is it a joy to see? It's not like he was doing the same thing with worse teammates or whatever. You get the point? Like, he was doing the same thing. Now, all of a sudden, he's got better teammates. Maybe he's improved a bit. And yes, the aim of the game is winning. So we need to credit him and take his game to another level after he does it in the playoffs. But we don't need to act like, oh my God, who is this Trae Young? Where has he come from? I've never seen this guy before. Yeah, you have. He was literally doing the same thing 4 months ago when his team sucked and he needed a new head coach and everyone was out injured. Except, like I just said, everyone was out injured and he needed a new head coach and his team sucked. Kind of painted the picture for you right there. Now he's doing the same thing on a good team with good teammates and a good coach, and he's winning. Go figure. I mean, just to further illustrate my point, and not to kind of throw someone under the bus, Kevin O'Connor. I'm throwing him under the bus. He does great work, by the way. He's actually really good at his job. But in general, a few months ago when I was listening to his podcast, and I did find the screenshot, he said LaMelo Ball, Ja Morant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he would all take over Trae Young, and he said LaMelo Ball, he would take over Trae in particular, and he did say potential, but in general, he does not make this statement if Trae Young at the time has a winning record. He does not make this statement if LaMelo Ball and them switched records, even though this had nothing to do with just a strictly LaMelo Ball versus Trae Young thing, their records. Gordon Hayward was playing well. Their team was winning a lot of close games. They were just winning games that was happening because of their team. Trae Young wasn't winning games because the situation just wasn't there for him to win at the time, yet he went out to say he would definitely take LaMelo Ball over Trae. And it's not just about Kevin O'Connor, because obviously other people had very similar opinions up until a month ago. Before the playoffs, people were saying the same thing. Julius Randle's better than Trae. You get the point. I mean, I was someone who've done it before. I'm not just going to throw someone under the bus and to not own up to my own mistakes. Yes, I thought Tyler Hero could be a star player over the next few years. I thought he could average 20 points a game next season. I saw what he did in the playoffs, and I saw what he did on a winning team, and I thought, if he can do this in the playoffs, regular season, come on, regular season, I didn't forecast him falling in love with an Instagram model, which has kind of derailed some of that, but I'll take the blame. I will say that I did think higher of Tyler Hero than I probably should have, purely because he was putting up decent numbers on a good team, when in reality, That's all it was. Now, he might turn out to be better, but as of right now, that's all it was. In terms of Devin Booker, the classic Devin Booker one that we have to touch on because it just needs to be talked about. Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell. The age-old debate where everyone seemed to have Donovan Mitchell well and truly head and shoulders above Devin Booker. As of right now, I don't care. As I said, I'm not actually trying to get into this to compare players or say who's better than who. I honestly couldn't care less. All I'm trying to say is the age-old debate of, oh, Donovan Mitchell has to be better than Devin Booker because his team's winning. It's got nothing to do with having a 3 times Defensive Player of the Year and a great coach and great supporting members. Does Rudy Gobert even sound the same? Like, when I say 3 times Defensive Player of the Year, you probably think, oh, Donovan Mitchell, I actually rate him higher because Rudy Gobert's on his team. But Rudy Gobert is a good player. He got exposed by Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson, and the Clippers, but he's still a good player. So he did have a good supporting cast. And on the flip side, Devin Booker averaging an efficient 25 points a game with his front court of Dragan Bender and Alex Len. Oh, shock court, he's averaging an efficient 25 points a game 3 years later. Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, and DeAndre Ayton is his supporting cast, not Josh Jackson, Dragan Bender, and Alex Len. I couldn't even think of the name for a second. That's how forgettable it was. Not to mention he had about 7 different coaches. Now he's got a good one and a good general manager. See what I'm trying to say? It's a team effort. It's a team environment. I'm not even talking about empty stats because I think that's been played to death. By now, everyone knows about empty stats. Whatever. I'm just talking about overvaluing winning. I know that sounds crazy to say when this is all it's about. The NBA is all about winning, but not overvaluing winning to say just undervaluing players that don't win. Get it? Sounds crazy. That's why I needed to make a full video on it. I can't just say, oh, these guys are undervalued because they don't win. They're losers. I mean, that kind of sounds dumb. But these guys are undervalued because you're blaming them as star players for their supporting cast being terrible. You're blaming De'Aaron Fox for Marvin Bagley being Marvin Bagley. You're blaming SGA for not winning with 3 rookies who are project players playing 40 minutes a game. And a lot of this comes down to the fact that we always want to have one star guy. We want to look at a team and say, that guy is the reason. And often if a team's winning, there is one guy who is a major reason for it. But it's not just one guy. It's a general manager. It's a coach, assistant coaches, heck. A lot of people go into a team winning, an environment winning. There's so many things that go into it that the fact that we can just look at 2 players and evaluate one, go, oh, his team won 50 games, his team won 20 games. Is it a debate? Yes, it is, because that doesn't change much in my opinion. That doesn't change much. I'm going to elevate someone if they do well in the playoffs, but I'm not going to just trash someone if their team's not winning. That's what I want to say. I mean, look no further than Chris Paul getting all the credit for the Phoenix Suns, and look no further than them winning 8-0 last year and now winning 2 games in the Western Conference Finals without him even playing. Am I trying to say Chris Paul is bad? No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say they've got DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker, Monty Williams, Cameron Johnson, Cam Payne, for God's sakes. Like, these guys all matter. These guys all help teams win games. So it's not all just Chris Paul. All I want to say is to conclude, when you see Zion Williamson, when you see De'Aaron Fox, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it doesn't need to be those 3 guys. When you see those guys dominating the playoffs, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised that the guy who put up 25 points a game with Marvin Bagley could put up 25 points a game without Marvin Bagley and without Luke Walton. You get the point I'm trying to make? I think I've made my point. Whether it was that clear or not is kind of really up to you to decide, and you can let me know. But anyways, I just think it's time that we stop making the same mistake, because it's inevitable. In 2 years' time, we're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing this in the playoffs. Believe it.